Hello and welcome to the Top Order podcast. This is our World Cup daily update. Don't hold us to that. We're going to do our very, very best to try and give you daily updates, but we are four guys with full-time jobs, and these games are late at night, so who knows? But yeah, very, very happy to be starting off day one with New Zealand versus England, and we'll be back right after the swish. Boys, honestly, I was clean shaved last time I slept. I've been up all night watching this game. Absolutely couldn't be happier at this moment. I know you guys, Baldy, you'll get to hear his voice, listeners and viewers, in a minute. It's something very special. Raj, you must have woken up this morning. I know you didn't get to watch the whole game live. You must have woken up this morning. It's the dream result for you, isn't it? Conway 100, Ravindra 100.
Incredible result. I woke up and I think I said two words, wowee. I was very excited about that result. It's hard to say unexpected because, any team, I think you mentioned it, Stu, any team can beat any team on their day, and definitely between these two sides. But no one was expecting that kind of victory, that kind of dominance. I thought that England were short when I did see their final score, but not that short. That was an incredible batting performance, I think, by the boys, and I'm looking forward to seeing the highlights today at some stage.
Oh, it's an absolute must watch for any New Zealand cricket fan. And I mean, yeah, I took the day off today on Friday here in New Zealand time because I just kind of been fizzed up about this World Cup, wanted to watch it, and decided I was going to just stick in for all night. And honestly, yeah, you sort of start watching the game, and like you say, 280, you think we've done pretty well here, and it's a weird sort of game. It made me think 280 is still quite a big score for us to be thinking we're in with a real chance. But the way Ravindra and Conway batted, I honestly I haven't seen a dominant New Zealand performance like that for such a long time. They made the England bowling attack look second rate, and when you look at that England bowling attack on paper, it looks very, very good. So yeah, I mean, we will talk more and more about Devon Conway's innings and Rachin Ravindra's innings, I'm sure, in particular, because that's the one that probably takes people the most by surprise. But Baldy, I'll give the listeners the chance to listen to you, and I guess your first thoughts on when you saw that score this morning.
Yeah, well, I saw the score at various different states over the last sort of 6 or 7 hours. I haven't slept well, and it sounds like I haven't slept at all. But I have just lost my voice. I'll be back, listeners. Don't worry. But the podcast world rejoices at the fact that I've lost my voice. Look, I thought New Zealand did a great job of restricting England's vaunted top order to 120 for 4. Like that was the last score I saw before I really went to bed. And I thought England are in a bit of trouble here. But then you have a look down their lineup, and Chris Wokes is batting at 9, and you kind of look at it and go, well, England could be all out 185, but they also could get to 300 from here, and they nearly did. So when I then woke up at 2 a.m. and saw New Zealand were chasing 280, I thought, well, England have done a great job here, and New Zealand are going to be up against it. But from 1 for spit to 283 for 1, just a tremendous performance by that New Zealand top order of two of our favourite players in the podcast.
And why don't we go back to let's do this chronologically. Let's go back to selection, because I think there's quite a lot of interesting things to discuss there. For New Zealand in particular, there's no Williamson, no Sodhi. Those were expected. We didn't expect that Lockie Ferguson would have a little niggle with his back, so he was also unavailable for selection. And then they don't pick Sodhi. So New Zealand goes into the side with only 3 specialist bowlers. Raj, what were you thinking at that time?
Well, yeah, I thought they were just going to go around the field and give everybody a couple of overs and then see who did the best and then give them another round. But look, I'm pleasantly surprised by that, especially because of how England came out of the blocks really fast at the start of the innings, and we managed to pull that back through our spin and some good bowling from Matt Henry. But I was very surprised with that makeup. They being New Zealand camp, were obviously thinking that this was going to come down to a batting duel of some sort. And I guess they may have been right. I don't know, but there are some interesting selection questions I do want to pose to you, Stu. But I'll get Baldy's take on that question first. What do you make up of this, Baldy?
It's a really interesting one because I think in the lead up to the World Cup, Australia talked about wanting to have 3 different looks that they throw at sides, and one of them was an 8-batter lineup with 3 specialist bowlers, and that's what New Zealand have gone for here. The only thing I think I would have maybe liked to have seen a little bit more is a little bit more of Glenn Phillips at the bowling crease. He had 2 wickets in 3 overs, looked like he was going to be really successful. I think he pinned back Mo Ali, and he also got Joe Root as well. So, big wickets in the context of the game. So I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of Glenn Phillips. But look, as you look up and down that order, Matt Henry did a really, really good job. 3 for 48 off his 10. And Santner did a fantastic job. 2 for 37 against that lineup, where I think, England would have looked at that and gone, well, if we could attack Santner, then it means that New Zealand have to get 20 overs from Neesham, Ravindra and Phillips, who are then under way more pressure. So the fact that the main 3 bowlers stood up and went for under 5s, all 3 of them, just a fantastic performance from New Zealand.
So I'll pose it back to you, Stu, in a slightly different way. So how do you feel about the 20 overs that were made up there by Neesham, Ravindra and Glenn Phillips? And I actually thought we would see some Mark Chapman, definitely before Glenn Phillips.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the makeup of that side?
Just one on Chapman. I don't think we'll see him in the World Cup. I think he's as far as I know, he's sort of lost it a little bit with the spin. I would say Phillips, from what I hear, it sounds like he works. He loves bowling, so he's bowling constantly. He's someone they bowled in the warm-up games. I wasn't surprised to see him at the crease. Maybe Daryl Mitchell's probably someone I thought they might roll an over two when they were going round in the circle who can bowl a couple of overs. But on the selection, I thought it was a mistake at the time, and I actually still think it was. I think it's kind of, if you look at that lineup, New Zealand's gone 133 for 6 from their 30 overs of Santner, Henry and Bolt, and from the 17 overs of Neesham and Ravindra, they've gone 130, about the same score, 132 for 1 off 17. So I think you're looking back at that score and going, well, if we had Sodhi, we're restricting them to even less. Maybe not, because you see that Rachin Ravindra picks up a wicket. He's, very fortunate wicket for anyone who's seen it. Bowled 4 half-trackers in a row to Harry Brook. He's smacked 3 of them to the fence and then hit one of them straight up in the air. And then Glenn Phillips has come in and picked up a couple of wickets at very, very crucial times. That Moeen Ali wicket in particular was crucial. And then to get Root at that time when Root was about to go was a really, really big wicket. So, yes, they made that gamble. I think it was a big gamble, and obviously it's paid off now that we've won the game. But yeah, I think they'll still be looking at decisions going forward and how they structure that side, and maybe it will be a game by game balance.
And just sort of taking a slightly different tack, you mentioned there the wicket of Harry Brook, and I know, Baldy, you may not have seen this yet. What do you make, Stu, of the manner of a few of these dismissals, particularly the sort of Joe Root, Johnny Bairstow, Harry Brook kind of dismissals? They're the sort of, especially the Harry Brook one, as you mentioned, those are the sort of selector killers, the coach killers, the captain killers. What do you make of the manner of their dismissals? Is that something that we just don't worry about these days in white ball cricket, or is that going to be a talking point?
Oh, I mean, it was certainly a talking point through the commentary the whole way. There was many times where the commentators were referring to them as gifts. You thought that yourself as a New Zealand fan. You're watching that. You're sitting there going, "This pitch is just flat. There's runs galore." And every time it seemed like England was about to kick on, they would lose a wicket. They would chip one to a boundary rider. They would, miss the ball and get bowled. Every single partnership that they started, New Zealand would just pick up a wicket. And I do think New Zealand has to take some of the credit for that. And probably a couple of people we haven't mentioned, Mitchell Santner, I think that's the best, right up there with the best 10 overs I've ever seen him bowl in a white ball game. He went through that 10 overs without a boundary. It was just a masterclass of varying his pace, like totally understood what needed to be done on that wicket to go through. And what did he go for? 37 or something off his 10 overs. Yeah, no boundaries at all. He was able to change his pace. He was able to flight the ball. And all the other spinners that played the game, Ali, Rashid, as good as he is, Liam Livingston, Rachin Ravindra, none of them were able to kind of flight the ball the way he did. And yeah, it was a huge, huge credit to the way he bowled. And the other person I would highlight is Tom Latham, because we've just talked about the resources that New Zealand had to play with. He's had a lot of criticism in the past, I think, as a captain, as someone who kind of just sits there and kind of lets the play happen in front of him. But he was brilliant yesterday in that game, and last night, a few hours ago, whenever it was. He just was able to kind of manage. He rotated his bowlers so well. He brought guys in for one-over spells at times. He brought guys on to take wickets at different times, and it always seemed to work. And every time England seemed to be getting away, he changed those bowlers, and he didn't let things drift at all. And I thought that was really a real credit to him. And Nasser Hussain actually pointed it out in the commentary about different ways that captains can actually have a massive influence on the game and bring a score down by 20, 30, 40 runs, and that's the winning and losing of a game. And today it certainly made a big impact.
I was really excited by the way that he responded to that start from England, because that wouldn't have gone to plan at all for the New Zealanders. They bowled a lot of four balls early on, and he initiated that comeback through changing his resources, as you say. Baldy, I'd like you to pretend that you're Binksy right now. If you could put an accent on, that would be great. Panic stations for England. What are you going to be hitting the big red button? What are you going to do? What is England going to do going forward?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I mean, as he pointed out in the Slack channel, these are the two finalists from last year's the last World Cup, the last go round, right? England have got a lot of games to play. All the sides have to play each other. It's a long tournament, so one game does not a tournament make. But England have got humped here, no doubt about it, and they're going to need to bounce back from a significant shellacking in an area where I don't think they expected to get humped. Like, as you say, that's a very, very good bowling attack. I looked at that side going to bed when it was announced, and I thought to myself, that could be, on paper, one of the best ODI sides England's ever put out, if you have a look at it from top to bottom. They've got quality bowlers all up and down that lineup. They've got bowlers who can bowl in all sorts of conditions. They've got lots of variation in their attack. Left, right-handed, swing, pace, good spin, experience. England got taken apart by New Zealand's batting, quite frankly, and that would be the thing that, if I was an England fan, would be slightly concerning. Yes, England gave away a few wickets here and there, but the way that they play their white ball cricket, we know that that's going to happen on occasion, and you have to take that in the stride of being able to go and have those people come off and make 400. Would Ben Stokes have made a difference? Maybe a little bit. He might have added a little bit of starch to that middle order. He might have added a little bit more calmness and assurity in the field. He may have bowled an over or two and taken a key wicket. Who knows? But it's a long tournament. I don't think England need to panic yet, but there's probably a little bit of self-reflection and maybe a question of, were we ready for the first game of the tournament? Because New Zealand definitely were, and I think they took England by surprise a little bit.
Yeah, I think your ready point is a good one. There was a little bit of talk in the build up about how there's been rain in these warm up games, and New Zealand probably has had the better of that in the in those build up games. We've actually managed to kind of get some time at the crease, particularly someone like Rachin Ravindra, who got 97 odd against Pakistan, and maybe that's where we can go now to New Zealand's batting. And on Ravindra, Raj, I mean, how big do you think this is for him? I mean, I don't know that, all throughout the commentary, they were talking about how this is an amazing youngster bursting onto the stage. And I guess for New Zealanders, we've seen him on the stage now for a little while, but it does feel like he's been starting to find his feet. And now Williamson's out. You mentioned Stokes was out for England before Baldy. These players that we expect to play huge parts in the tournament. Kane's not there. Rachin Ravindra steps into number 3. And actually, when I even saw the New Zealand lineup, I still thought, even though he was carded to come in at 3, I thought Daryl Mitchell will come in at 3. Like, that's just the way New Zealand's been going. Mitchell will go up at 3, and then they'll push everyone up, and Ravindra will be about 6 or 7. But they put him at 3, and boy, did it pay off. And, I don't know now what this means for the rest of the tournament and for Rachin's, for the next 12 months for Rachin.
We've spoken to a lot of guests on the podcast, and often they talk about one innings or one moment where they, at the end of it, they felt like, okay, I belong in international cricket now. I feel like this is that moment for Rachin Ravindra. After this, he must know that he well and truly belongs on the international stage, because that was a statement performance from him. There's a lot of runs to get, 282 for 9. They're all there for you on the wicket. They're all there for you in the field. But you still got to go get them. And you still got to go get them against Wokes, against Mark Wood, against 2 very experienced spinners in Rashid and Mo Ali. He had all the work to do. And after Will Young was strangled down the leg side, first cherry and gone, that's a great start for England. And so he had all of that to climb. And then at the end of it, to come away with a 100 not, that's got to be a defining performance in his career. And if he doesn't feel like he belongs in international cricket right now, he absolutely should. And he should be taking that momentum into every game he plays for the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, just to build on that, I guess, this is going to sound a little bit dramatic, but he's just played an innings that's actually going to change his life, Rachin Ravindra.
Absolutely.
All of a sudden, every war room in IPL has his name on their board looking at him, whether he gets a contract or gets a look in next year in the IPL. Regular listeners of the podcast will know that I'm very excited about the balance that Rachin can bring to our test side and our red ball stuff. This white ball string that he has to his bow now has been less prominent for me, but shows that he can play a role in the top order. He can play a role in the lower order, closing a game with the ball, closing game with the bat, and also with the ball, should he need to contribute on that side of the ledger as well. So I think that this is a massive stepping stone for him. I don't know what happens when Kane Williamson and Tim Southey come back and where he sort of fits into the rotation there, about which lineup they want to put out. As you said, Mark Chapman was a bit of a spare part today, so I think that his World Cup might be over barring injury. And yeah, I'm very excited to see what combinations we throw up going forward.
The 2 numbers that really impressed me, Raj, in that innings are 11 and 5. The criticism of Ravindra in the past has been that he's not explosive enough. But if you have a look, struck at 128, so he struck it higher than Devon Conway, scored 11 boundaries and 5 sixes. So he put the ball to the fence and over the fence. And that's one thing that has been criticised about Ravindra's game in the past, that he's not explosive enough, particularly if he's going to bat in the later stages of the innings. But he showed there that he could really accelerate an innings. I just thought it was a terrific performance. And we're overshadowing the fact that Devon Conway, I think, scored the fastest 100 by a New Zealander in a white ball game.
Well, not in a white ball game, but in a World Cup game, and actually Conway scored it, and then Ravindra beat him by 1 ball. It was fantastic. It was fantastic. But we'll get to Conway, because don't worry, I want to talk about him. But to build on your Ravindra thing, and even when we talked to him on the podcast, I remember that we finished that chat 20 minutes, half an hour, or whatever it was, and we all kind of just looked at each other and went, geez, this kid's got something special about him. And you could feel that he had that self-belief, but like you say, it wasn't arrogance. It was, I know that I can do this, and I'm going to put in a heck of a lot of work to make sure that this happens. And yeah, it was really, really nice to see him succeed on that stage. And I think the thing that struck me And Tom Latham actually talked a bit about it after the game, is how quickly they went and how they just kept peppering boundaries. And they just, I think there was some sort, I'm going to butcher the stat completely now, but there was stats going around about how maybe in the first 15, 16 overs, 17 overs of New Zealand's innings, they were hitting a boundary on, more than 50% of those overs. They were hitting a boundary on the first ball. And it was giving them all the momentum and just putting all that pressure back on England. And what I think it was Atherton, talked to Latham at the end of the game and said, was it your plan to always come out and go that hard at England? And he said no, it wasn't really. They just played good shots. That's what Latham said, but that's actually what happened. They went out there. Rachin Ravindra, I think, blocked maybe his first 5 or 6 balls. Then he got one on his legs, clipped it sort of wide of mid-on to the boundary. Wokes ran in, bowled a short ball to him. He was waiting there, rocked back, whacked that one to the boundary, and he just grew in stride from there on. And honestly, you guys will watch these highlights a little bit later on. There's a 6 that he hits off Chris Wokes, straight back over his head, sort of deep into his innings. That is just stunning. And the way he hit some of the spinners took them down. Yeah, it like you say, this could be a really, really special innings for him, and really propel him. And I mean, he's got to be there now, right? He's got to be there for the rest of the tournament. So yeah, who he replaces, I think we'll see depending on different conditions. But yeah, very, very excited for what he's just done, and we should probably talk about Devon Conway now, Raj. Anything you want to say about him? I know you predicted him for leading run scorer of the tournament or player of the tournament. I think whatever you did there, it's off to a pretty nice start.
No, it wasn't me. I actually picked Johnny Bairstow. It might have been Baldy or Binksy there, but it's interesting because he scored 152 of 121, and it's just business as usual. I'm not blown away by it. I just expect it from Devon Conway. I think I would look back through his result. Is that his 400 this year in white ball cricket?
Oh,
I think
may
it
well
might be.
May well
I think
be,
it
yeah.
might be. That's an incredible result for him. I don't know what to say. He is what we expect. That kind of service is what we expect every game from Devon Conway. And when he doesn't provide that, he provides a meager 40. Then that's when we get our backs up. But I can't give him enough superlatives. He's just that good. I'm looking forward to watching these 2 glorious left-handers in the highlights. I tell you,
it's funny. It's funny when in the game, and even like the commentators were talking about it, and even in my head I was thinking, geez, Ravindra's smashing it everywhere. And then you look over and you see the scores, and yes, I think Ravindra might have, Baldy, you said Ravindra might have got a strike rate above Conway right at the end there. But Conway got a 36 ball 50, Ravindra got a 37 ball 50. And Conway got to the 100 about the same time. Conway, yeah, he just did it in a very there's a half volley, I'll smash that through the covers for 4. There's one on my legs, I'll clip that down to the boundary for 4. Oh, there's a short one, I'll pull that one. Like, it was just a no fuss going at 130 strike rate the whole way, and yeah, and then they got to the funny thing is they were I think it was Mel Jones in the commentary was talking about how at one point, with about 100 runs to go, she started saying, "Oh, well, there should be. I wonder if they're starting to think about net run rate." And the English people, the Englishmen in the commentary box were going, "Oh, come on, just give us a chance here." But then it got to 38 to go with at the drinks break, and they went, "Okay." Conway took 20 off Sam Curran's next over. Ravindra took 14 or 15 off the next over. 2 balls later, they'd won the game. So yeah, they're obviously thinking about that, and for Conway in particular to just be able to accelerate at those right moments, and yeah, it was a really special innings. I always think about Stephen Fleming's 100 in South Africa back in 2003, I think that was, and think about it as one of the best World Cup hundreds I've seen, when someone just takes the game by the collar and wins it. These 2 both did that today. It was a really spectacular watch.
And that's one of the big takeaways, I think, from the game from a tournament perspective, is that New Zealand, not only having beaten England, having beaten a rival for the top four, but they did it in a way that really significantly ups their net run rate. So if you have a look at it, England were like 5.5, something like that. 282 is roughly 5.5, right? But New Zealand was 7.79. So that's +2 already for New Zealand in this tournament. And so if it, as we predicted in our preview show, if it does come down to 3 or 4 teams roughly on the same number of points, net run rate's going to be huge. And this is a massive boon for New Zealand in the context of the tournament to get away with not just a victory over a rival, but a victory over a rival with a huge net run rate boost. That's going to be huge for New Zealand. I can still see England finishing 7-2 in this tournament, through pool play. But if they drop another game and they're in amongst South Africa, Australia, Pakistan, etc., fighting out for position 3 and 4 or 4 or 5, 6, whatever, this is going to be a bit of a hurdle for them to have to come back from now. They're going to have to thump a lot of those lower sides that they expect to beat and thump them significantly to claw that net run rate back over the course of the tournament.
Yeah. Look, as you guys said at the start, one game doesn't make a World Cup. We saw that in the T20 World Cup for New Zealand. We got off to that rollicking start. We didn't make the semis, obviously, but yeah, didn't win the tournament. So there's still a lot to come. But yeah, huge performance. I guess just before we look forward and then sort of just finish the podcast, anything you wanted to add, Raj, on the result, or give a shout out to anyone else on that New Zealand side? I know we've focused largely on New Zealand with the you and me here and no Binksy on this call.
Yeah, no, the one I wanted to highlight with the ball, we've talked about Mitch Santner, he was incredible, but Matt Henry, I thought that he bowled incredibly well when there was pressure being leaked at the other end a little bit. He was the only one who really, with the new ball, bowled overs with sustained pressure. His wicket of Milan was well deserved, and it helped us sort of stem that run rate before Santner came in as well and did that. But Matt Henry, who's often been overlooked for the Bolt and Southey performances, I thought he was really good, and this could be his time to stand up, his World Cup. So he really good performance from him.
Oh, absolutely, and it's funny. Even when you're seeing team selections in the lead up to the World Cup, people are, ideal New Zealand 11s and things, and lots of people still sort of not many people outside of, or not many people in New Zealand, but people outside of New Zealand, sort of the worldwide media look and don't name Henry in the side. They were naming Lockie and Southey, and as Lockie, Southey, Bolt as our 3 seamers. Henry's been spectacular for 4 years now, and as you say, he did a wonderful job in this game, and let's hope he can go, because he as you say, I think Trent Bolt was a bit off to start that innings, and it looked like England was going to get away, and then Henry takes that wicket, and it just as we said, every time it looked like England was going to get away, someone came on and stemmed that flow, and huge for the tournament. I know we said we'd try and keep these short. We've got a little bit excited here with this game, me in particular, with these 2 brilliant left-handers. We've got to look forward to. I think we're looking forward to New Zealand and the Netherlands on Monday, and then England, Bangladesh. Yes, I mean for these 2 sides, and then the next game in the tournament tomorrow night. Tomorrow night is, or whatever day it is now. It is
Friday today, Stuart.
Is your next game? Yeah. It's time for a sleep, I think. So, Pakistan and Netherlands. We will be back tomorrow morning. We will try and digest this result, and then we will also be looking forward, I guess, from a New Zealand point of view, what they might do selection wise in that next game. And there's a chance, obviously, with a big win like that, they might decide that Kane Williamson can afford to rest another game and see an unchanged lineup. But at some point they're going to have to slot him back in, and some big decisions to make. And for England as well, I guess when Stokes comes back in, although that might be a simple Harry Brook out, Stokes in. So lots more to come in this World Cup. It's been, I can certainly say from my point of view, it's been an absolute pleasure to get on this call and talk a little bit more about this game today. We'll be back very, very soon. I hope, and plenty more throughout the tournament. So yeah, make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube and all your podcast channels, and we'll see you very, very soon.